There are food debates in the US that divide cities. Chicago versus New York pizza, Carolina versus Texas barbecue. But there is one food debate that divides an entire region, and most of the country may not even be familiar with it. Today, we are talking Cincinnati chili. Welcome to Pop Culture Passport, your ultimate guide to quirky and cool destinations across the US. I'm your host, Beth Scalacci, aka the Roman Yeti, here to help you dive into the world of theme parks, uncover film and TV locations, and explore quirky museums, roadside attractions, and legendary venues that capture the heart and soul of this unique country. So grab your pop culture passport and let's discover destinations that resonate with your interest, not just with what's trending on social media. Are you ready? Let's roam! Welcome back. On today's Snack Society episode, we are talking and tasting Cincinnati chili. So last month, when we stopped by Jungle Jim's while in Cincinnati, we decided to pick up 3 different cans of Cincy chili. And here's a reminder, quick. If you haven't listened to the Jungle Jim's episode yet, add it to your playlist. You have to hear about this store. It's amazing. Okay, so back to the chili. We grabbed those 3 cans for a very specific reason. We wanted to have an official Snack Society taste test of Cincinnati chili. And I want to thank right now 2 of our good friends who sat down with us during this tasting and brought their honest opinions and sense of humor to what we were doing. Agent 4, you have officially been deputized. But we'll get to the results in a bit because I got to set the stage in case you're not familiar with Cincinnati chili and the history behind it. Because if you're picturing, that bowl, really meaty bowl of style of chili, well, we need to completely clear that image from your head. So Cincinnati chili is not chili in what I would call the traditional sense. And Cincinnati people will tell you this, and they're very proud of this, and I don't blame them for that. It was created in 1922 by 2 brothers, Tom and John. Oh man, I'm gonna butcher this. I'm so sorry. Karajev. They were Greek immigrants who fled ethnic violence following the Balkan Wars, and they started serving a stew seasoned with traditional Mediterranean spices as a hot dog topping at a small stand next to a burlesque theater called the Empress. Empress. So they named their business after that. And here's what makes this story so fascinating to me. Um, Cincinnati chili isn't descended from Texas chili at all. It's rooted in a Greek dish that is layered pasta, cheese, and meat sauce seasoned with cinnamon, allspice, and clove. So it's essentially a Greek meat sauce that got called chili in America because that was the closest familiar reference that anyone had for this spiced meat topping. And so learning this really helped me understand and appreciate Cincinnati chili more, that for what it is and not what I thought it would be in the traditional sense. It's, more like it's like a pasta sauce, a meat pasta sauce. But here's one more thing before we move on. You may have heard that Cincinnati chili contains chocolate. It does not. Apparently, that rumor started when a food writer thought she cracked the secret recipe and printed a version with chocolate in it. But the internet, the internet does not rest. Um, According to everyone who has actually studied this, there's no chocolate. The sweetness you taste comes from the spice profile, cinnamon, allspice, and nutmeg, not from chocolate. So there you go. Myth. We're busting myths here too. We do a little bit of everything. Um, Now I want to get into the tastings, and um, I want to explain the sort of ordering system as well. because Cincinnati chili sort of has its own language, just like Philly has their own language when it comes to cheesesteaks. So when you're ordering Cincinnati chili, it's called ways. There's different ways. And it goes like this. So a two-way chili is chili over spaghetti. A three-way adds shredded cheddar cheese on top. And this is the most popular order. And honestly, it's the one that makes everything makes sense because you gotta have, I think you have to have cheese on chili. A four-way adds either onions or beans, and a five-way has everything: chili, spaghetti, cheese, onions, and beans. Um, there is technically a one-way, which is just the chili by itself, but apparently no one actually orders it that way. But that is how we tested it. Actually, we put a little cheese on some too, but we did test it without anything, and then I think we all ended up putting cheese on it as well. Um, And apparently this is an important rule. You don't swirl your spaghetti, you cut it. That pains my heart a lot. Um, but the goal is to get chili, cheese, and pasta in every single bite. And apparently the twirling ruins the ratio. Um, I would argue with that point, but you know, to each our own. That's how it is. And most people also add oyster crackers and a hot sauce on top too. So let's talk about our three contestants in our taste test. So we had Skyline Chili, and that's the one I think everyone is mostly familiar with. It was founded in 1949 by a Greek immigrant who had actually worked at the original Empress Chili before going out on his own. And the name supposedly came from the view of the Cincinnati skyline from his first restaurant. Though his family was said it was inspired by a skylight. So either way, the name stuck. And his son have kept the original recipe completely unchanged since he passed in 1962. And according to family, he always said, "Don't change a thing. It's perfect." The recipe is reportedly kept locked in a safe. And I will say that the Skyline chili is sweeter, smoother, and has more forward cinnamon taste than its competitors. Now, Gold Star chili is the other big name when you're in Cincinnati. You see those signs for those two restaurants everywhere. And Gold Star Chili was started by four immigrant brothers from Jordan who bought a restaurant called Hamburger Heaven from another former Empress employee in the 1960s. And when they noticed their chili was outselling their burgers, they made a decision. They renamed the whole thing Gold Star Chili, and Gold Star is supposed to be spicier and bolder than Skyline, a little more savory, a little less sweet. And Cincinnati has opinions on which is better, and to each their own. I mean, you gotta have, right? You have to have the good competition. And then we had what was our unknown player at the time, Worthmore. Apparently, Worthmore started in the 1920s when a Cincinnati butcher named Phil Hawk began selling his family's mock turtle soup at his meat store. The soup became so popular that he eventually stopped selling meat entirely and went all in on his other products. Um, they moved into canning and at some point added Cincinnati chili to the lineup. I'm telling you, I love these backstories. Here's the thing about Worthmore. It's retail only. There is no restaurants. You can only get it in the can. So that means we had never heard of it before, and now I know why. So most people outside of Cincinnati probably have also not heard of it, and we found it at Jungle Gyms and decided to make that our third testing tasting. So the tasting. All right, there we were, 4 adults, 3 cans of chili, and an unreasonable amount of cheese, and some very strong opinions. No, we had a lot of fun. Let me say this up front. I am a meat in my chili kind of person. I like a lot of meat. I like it hearty. And as we just discussed, Cincinnati chili is not really those things. And, um, you know, now that once I did all the tasting first, and then I did the research because I wanted to sort of, not have that in my mind. So I get it now. It's a well-seasoned, it's a Mediterranean spice meat sauce, and it should be over pasta, I guess, and buried under cheese. And it reminds me of the meat sauce that in Rochester they use on the garbage plates, Nick Tahoe's garbage plates. So I sort of love that these different sauces and chilies, how they're used from region to region. So Skyline chili was the group favorite, because we felt it had a more distinctive flavor, a warm sweetness from that cinnamon and spices, and really just made it very different. Um, in my opinion, it's the one that tastes like Cincinnati chili, at least how Cincinnati chili is like described. Gold Star was a close second. It was sort of bolder, a little spicier, maybe a little more meat presence, but another good bowl of chili. Worthmore was not our favorite. That came in third. It was a little thicker than the two, which I appreciated in theory, but the flavor just wasn't there. It just tasted like, I don't know, it just was very salty without the other spices. And I mean, Cincinnati chili is what it is because of those spices. So that was not our favorite. But honestly, like, I'm glad we tried it, and it could have been the winner, but not this time. So, like I said, we had a lot of fun. I don't know if you guys do taste testing ever of like picking products and trying. I really enjoy it. I try something I don't normally like, or wouldn't normally try or eat out. But this was a fun time, and like I said, shout out to our friends for playing along. I gave them sheets to fill out and everything. So, just be forewarned if you ever see me coming with sheets of paper and something to taste test, you're in for it. But what I really love about Cincinnati chili is that it's never tried to be anything other than what it is. And it's not trying to compete with Texas chili. I think in my mind, I was putting it in the same category, and it's just not that. Cincinnati is chili is unapologetically itself, just like the city, and I love that about both the city and the chili. So there you have it. Have you had Cincinnati chili? Who makes your favorite? Um, Hit up the fan mail thing on the show notes and let me know. Now, I do have a programming note before we wrap up. Just a quick note about what's coming this summer. I am going to shift in May through August back to a bi-weekly release schedule. Summer is a little hectic this year, and my daughter is graduating from college, and I honestly I want to spend more family time, a little more time actually out roaming and less in front of my computer doing the research. So, I hope you can appreciate me taking some time. The episodes aren't going anywhere. We're just spreading it out, and I have some fun ones planned and coming up. So stay tuned for that, please. And with that, we add another stamp to our pop culture passport. I hope this episode inspires you to get out and explore all that is quirky and cool, even in your own backyard. Follow, download, and subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. Tell a friend and leave a review if you like what we're doing. You can also find me on Instagram and Facebook, which is a good thing to do this summer because I will be posting some of my roaming adventures there more. So make sure you are following me. Search for the Roaming Yeti. Remember to keep from roaming and finding your fun.